after many, many years of lies being told about me and my family, there comes a point where, again, going back to the relationship between certain members of the family and the tabloid press.
The royal family has seen scandal, betrayal, public meltdowns, bombshell interviews, and lawsuits that shook Buckingham Palace. But what's unfolding now, days before what was supposed to be a quiet family visit, has left royal insiders and millions of ordinary people speechless. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were supposed to be coming home. That was the plan. Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet reportedly set for private family time, a stop at Diana's grave in Althorp, charity commitments with WellChild, and the launch of the Invictus Games in Birmingham next year. It sounded like the start of a thaw, maybe even reconciliation. But something has gone badly wrong. Stay with us. Unmasking the $100 million crisis. What began as a daring leap into freedom has slowly revealed a daunting shadow. An estimated $100 million in financial obligations, looming quietly but powerfully in the background. This is not a simple case of overspending or bad luck. It is a dense knot of business commitments, legal disputes, security expenses, and high-cost living, each strand manageable on its own, but together forming a burden that now threatens to pull everything tight. The most striking part is how this situation came to light. There were no dramatic leaks, no exposed balance sheets splashed across headlines. Instead, the story surfaced through carefully worded hints from palace-adjacent sources, subtle remarks that sparked speculation and curiosity. Insiders used phrases like serious exposure and unsustainable pressure, enough to suggest that something significant was unfolding behind closed doors. At the heart of the issue lies a series of ambitious deals made in the early days after stepping away from royal life. The timing is important. The world was watching closely, sympathy was high, and interest in their story felt limitless. In that moment, the future appeared wide open. Contracts were signed with confidence, expectations were high, and projections assumed a steady flow of attention, influence, and income. Take the media ventures, for example. High-profile production agreements promised creative freedom and global reach, but they also came with strict deadlines, performance targets, and heavy penalties if expectations were not met. These were not casual collaborations. They were tightly structured commercial deals that demanded constant output and results. When creativity slowed or projects stalled, the financial pressure did not. Then there is security. Unlike working royals, private individuals must fully fund their own protection. With ongoing threats and intense public attention, security costs reportedly climbed into staggering territory year after year. What once was covered by institutional systems now become a personal responsibility. Expensive, unavoidable, and ever-growing. Charitable commitments added another layer. Many initiatives were launched with good intentions and bold visions, often based on assumptions of future earnings and long-term prominence. But charity, while noble, still requires reliable funding. When income streams fluctuate, promises made during optimistic times can become heavy obligations during leaner ones. The core problem is not scandal or recklessness. By most accounts, there was no single catastrophic mistake. Instead, this is a story of structural vulnerability, of building a life around projections rather than guarantees. Income from media, speaking engagements, and brand partnerships is unpredictable by nature. Some years soar, others stall. Expenses, however, remain constant or rise. For Prince Harry, the shift has been especially jarring. He spent most of his life protected by systems designed to absorb risk, advisors, institutions, and public funding that softened financial shocks. Without that buffer, every decision now lands directly on his shoulders. Friends describe long nights spent reworking numbers, not with panic or regret, but with a sobering sense of adjustment. This is not about undoing the past, but about making the future workable. Meghan, often described as strategic and forward-looking, is said to be deeply involved in reassessing priorities. Which projects can last? Which are draining resources faster than they replenish them? What must change to create stability rather than constant pressure? These are not glamorous questions, but they are necessary ones. What makes the situation so compelling is its irony. The move away from royal life was meant to bring independence and control. Yet independence comes without safety nets. The Crown's golden parachute, the quiet assurance that core needs would always be met, is gone. In its place is a world where freedom must be balanced with financial reality. Now, the weight of numbers presses hard. What was once a bold dream of self-determination has taken on the tension of a survival story. Not a tale of disgrace, but of reckoning, where ambition meets arithmetic and autonomy demands endurance. So how has the debt affected Prince Harry's already fragile relationship with his immediate family? Could it have worsened it? Let's find out. The clause. The Queen left behind. Quiet stillness ruled the private offices of Buckingham Palace that November morning in 2025. The same walls that had witnessed decades of discreet decisions now held a moment no one inside the room could have predicted. King Charles, seated at a familiar mahogany desk once occupied by his mother, was not preparing for ceremony or public duty. He was reviewing paperwork, documents tied to the estate of Queen Elizabeth II, who had passed away in September 2022. It was meant to be a formality, the kind of task monarchs complete behind closed doors, far from headlines. The meeting brought together a small, trusted circle: senior legal counsel, the keeper of the privy purse, and advisors who had served both mother and son. Leather folders were opened, seals checked, and pages turned with professional calm. Most of what lay inside matched long-settled expectations: private estates, heirlooms, and assets already distributed years earlier. Balmoral, Sandringham, treasured jewelry. Nothing unusual, nothing unsettling, until one envelope appeared. It was thinner than the rest, marked by a date that immediately caught attention: March 2022. Only months before the Queen's death. Inside was a handwritten document, unmistakably Elizabeth's. The script was steadier than expected for her final year. Slightly uneven, yes, but intentional. This was not a draft. This was a decision. As Charles read, the room grew still. His face, so often trained into composure, shifted slowly. What lay before him did not concern property alone. It addressed Prince Harry, not in passing, not vaguely, but directly, with precision that left no room for misreading. The clause outlined an inheritance arrangement that ran against every assumption Charles had carried since his mother's passing. It was not simply about money or land. It was conditional, carefully structured, and tied to future choices. It suggested that Elizabeth, even while ill, had been thinking far ahead, about division within her family, about time, and about consequences. The advisors waited as Charles reread the document. Once, twice, 3 times. Each reading carried more weight than the last. Legal counsel quietly confirmed what the king already suspected. The clause was authentic, properly witnessed, and fully enforceable. It had been sealed with instructions to remain undisclosed until the appropriate moment. That moment had clearly arrived. Thoughts drifted to Windsor Castle, to a private study where Elizabeth might have sat alone, pen in hand, knowing exactly what she was doing. She had ruled through wars, political storms, and family turmoil. She understood silence as a tool. This clause was not an accident or an oversight. It was strategy. What made the discovery heavier was not its legality, but its intent. The Queen had left her eldest son more than a crown. She had left him a decision that touched an open wound. Harry's departure from royal life had fractured trust and reshaped relationships. This clause reopened that chapter, not emotionally, but formally. A quiet question finally surfaced from one advisor. How should they proceed? Should preparations begin? Should other parties be informed? Charles did not answer immediately. He removed his glasses and rested them on the desk, rubbing the bridge of his nose. For a brief moment, he was not the king. He was a son, realizing that his mother had planned this reckoning long before he was ready to face it. The ticking of a mantel clock filled the silence. Outside, London moved on. Traffic, voices, ordinary life. Unaware that within palace walls, a choice was forming that could reshape the future of the House of Windsor. Elizabeth had always believed in timing. By placing this clause where she did, she ensured that Charles would face it as king, not as heir. The crown, already heavy, felt heavier still. Whatever decision followed would echo far beyond that room. The clause was no longer hidden, and neither were the consequences. And when Queen Elizabeth's secret clause was revealed, what unexpected consequences began to ripple through the palace, changing everything insiders thought they knew. It's been over 4 years since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stunned the world by stepping back from their senior royal duties. It was January 2020 when the couple officially left behind the rigid formalities of royal life and began carving a new path in sunny California. In their place came palm trees, podcast deals, Netflix cameras, and a freedom many suspected they'd longed for. But here's the twist. Despite the explosive interviews, the tell-all memoir Spare, and their headline-grabbing media ventures, Harry and Meghan are still officially the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Why? That's where things get interesting. Behind palace walls, King Charles III appears to be playing the long game. Now, 76 years old and only recently crowned, the monarch is reportedly wary of stirring up more controversy than necessary. Palace insiders claim he's deliberately keeping his hands off the Sussex titles, not out of mercy or affection, but to avoid a public relations disaster. One royal source put it bluntly. The king fears public backlash. He doesn't want to be seen punishing his own son on a global stage. That doesn't mean this is some touching royal reconciliation. Far from it. Charles's silence isn't forgiveness. It's strategy, a velvet-gloved warning rather than an outright punishment. Think of it as the royal version of I'm not mad, just disappointed, only with centuries of monarchy and global scrutiny hanging in the balance. The truth is, the king is walking a tightrope, trying to balance tradition, family, and a deeply divided public. But the tension isn't just external. Inside the royal household, emotions are boiling just beneath the surface. The relationship between Harry, Meghan, and the rest of the royals is more strained than ever. It's been icy since their bombshell decision in 2020, and each public move, whether it's a Netflix docu-series or a primetime interview, has only deepened the divide.
There was a war against Meghan to suit other people's agendas.
When Harry sat down in 2023 and admitted he might be open to giving up the titles, it sent shockwaves through the monarchy.
I don't see it as cutting at all. My brother and I love each other. I love him deeply. There has been a lot of pain between the two of us, especially the last 6 years. None of anything that I've written and anything I've included is ever intended to hurt my family.
But here's the catch. He can't just hand them back. Royal protocol doesn't work that way.
You'll be on the side of Harry and Meghan and think, wow, they had to put up with a lot and I'm on there.
Titles are woven into the monarchy's legal and symbolic fabric. Removing them takes more than just personal choice. It takes an act of the crown itself. And so King Charles, ever the image-conscious sovereign, has opted to leave things alone. For now. But don't mistake inaction for peace. This is chess, not checkers. As it stands, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex continue to hold on to their titles, an echo of their royal past that still links them to the very institution they distanced themselves from. But for how long? Because inside those ancient walls of Buckingham Palace, something is brewing. The calm you see? That's just the surface. The real storm is still forming. But what if holding onto their royal titles is just part of a bigger plan brewing behind palace walls? Keep watching. A royal rift fueled by money and loyalty. Tensions between Prince Harry and the British royal family have been explained in many different ways over the years. Some people point to emotional wounds, others to clashes of values, privacy concerns, or the pressures of royal life. Yet one explanation continues to surface again and again, surprising many observers. Money. This idea feels strange at first, considering that everyone involved belongs to one of the wealthiest families in the world. Still, despite Prince Harry's personal fortune and independent income, reports keep suggesting that finances have played a quiet but powerful role in deepening the rift. At the center of this story is what happened after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped back from their royal duties. According to the Windsor Legacy, a book written by royal expert Robert Jobson, Queen Elizabeth II made a key decision during this period. She reportedly asked then Prince Charles to take full responsibility for handling communication with Harry. This move was meant to simplify matters and keep things orderly, but it may also have added pressure to an already strained relationship between father and son. As the situation unfolded, the book claims that discussions became increasingly tense. Jobson alleges that Prince Harry, feeling cut off and unsupported, demanded continued financial help. In response, Prince Charles is said to have firmly replied, "I'm not a bank." That short sentence has since become a symbol of the emotional and financial distance that had grown between them. However, Harry has strongly rejected this version of events. A source close to him dismissed the book's claims as pure fiction, insisting that the story does not reflect what truly happened behind closed doors. Despite public disagreements, there have been moments that raised hopes of healing. Reports say that Prince Harry and King Charles met privately in September 2025, sparking fresh talk of reconciliation. To some, this meeting suggested that time and reflection might soften old wounds. Yet while the relationship between father and son may show small signs of repair, deeper problems appear to remain unresolved, especially between Harry and his older brother, Prince William. According to royal insiders, Prince William feels deeply hurt and angry about Harry's actions since leaving royal life. What troubles him most is the belief that Harry continues to earn large sums of money by using his royal background, while at the same time openly criticizing the monarchy. To William, this feels like a betrayal. He sees loyalty, discretion, and duty as the foundations that keep the royal family, and the monarchy itself, standing strong. From his point of view, benefiting financially from the royal name while attacking the institution undermines everything it represents. These feelings have reportedly shaped William's views on money and responsibility within the family. Sources suggest he believes that clear and firm financial boundaries are necessary. In his mind, stepping away from royal duties should also mean stepping away from certain financial privileges. Insiders claim that when William eventually becomes king, he plans to enforce these boundaries more strictly than ever before. This approach may include limiting future financial support or inheritances for Harry. Over the years, Harry has received significant sums, including millions from his late mother, Princess Diana, and later from trusts connected to the Queen Mother. William is said to feel that continued financial benefits send the wrong message. He reportedly believes that real consequences, especially financial ones, are the only form of accountability Harry will truly feel for choosing a life outside royal service. At its heart, this unfolding drama reveals something deeply human. Even in families surrounded by immense wealth, money can become a symbol of love, loyalty, control, and respect. It is rarely just about pounds and estates. It is about what financial support represents emotionally. In the case of the royal family, money has become a stand-in for approval, responsibility, and belonging. Ultimately, the situation shows that wealth does not protect families from conflict. Instead, it can sometimes make disagreements sharper and more painful. For the House of Windsor, the clash over money reflects a much larger struggle. One about identity, duty, and what it truly means to be part of the royal family in a changing world. Was there any immediate public reaction from the royal palace? Why did the palace choose to respond the way it did? Let's delve into the details of the art of silent confirmation. How distance and distrust set the stage for King Charles's most personal move yet. While the Duke and Duchess of Sussex still hold their royal titles, for now, the rift that began in 2020 has only deepened with time, distance, and silence. The space between Harry and the royal family, once a matter of geography, has grown into a complex web of emotional disconnects, unhealed wounds, and missed opportunities. And behind the palace gates, those tensions are quietly reshaping the monarchy. From the moment Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step back in January 2020, the hope, at least from their side, was for a hybrid role. Harry envisioned a life where he and Meghan could still serve the crown while pursuing their independent ventures across the Atlantic. But that idea quickly clashed with a monarchy built on absolutes. You're either in or you're out. There's no such thing as part-time royalty. King Charles, leaning on lessons learned during Queen Elizabeth II's reign, believed clarity was essential. Half measures, he feared, would only lead to blurred lines around responsibilities, expectations, and, perhaps most critically, public funding. Yet even as the monarchy sought order, Harry and Meghan's world took a different path.
Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
Their 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey was more than just a televised moment. It was a cultural earthquake.
I need to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's.
Allegations of racism, neglect, and emotional strain within the royal household painted a stark contrast to the polished image the palace had long upheld.
Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
The couple's candor resonated with millions, but it also pierced the heart of the monarchy's carefully curated brand. In his 2023 memoir, Spare, Harry peeled back even more layers.
I don't see it as cutting at all. My brother and I love each other. I love him deeply. There has been a lot of pain between the two of us, especially the last 6 years. None of anything that I've written and anything I've included is ever intended to hurt my family.
He spoke of isolation, of feeling like a stranger in his own family, of being physically and emotionally cut off. There was vulnerability, but also frustration, especially toward his father, King Charles, and his brother, Prince William. He spoke longingly of reconciliation, but also of betrayal.
Doing some gaslighting himself, frankly, because the fact is that, here he is like selling out his family for money, essentially, when he's talked so often about the agony of being betrayed.
Meanwhile, in multiple interviews, Harry admitted the weight of choosing exile, even as he tried to protect the family he had built in California. The tension, however, wasn't just internal. The public began to view Meghan Markle through increasingly polarized lenses,
A lot of celebrities do on red carpets. Meghan Markle is a celebrity. She's an actress. She knows about angles. She knows about what makes a good picture. She knows about what's a good story visually. She's smart, and she has used some very smart strategy in her role. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, to use the knowledge you gleaned in one field and career in another one.
To some, she was a breath of fresh air, a modern, outspoken, biracial woman, unafraid to challenge the monarchy's rigid traditions. To others, particularly in parts of the British press, she was seen as a disruptive influence. Tabloid headlines accused her of dividing the once close bond between Harry and his brother, and of turning the prince against the institution he was born into. Stories, some from anonymous insiders, painted Meghan as someone who clashed with the royal way of doing things. Her warmth, her hugging, her American openness was at odds with the palace's reserved, centuries-old decorum. One rumor even referred to her as having a messiah complex, claiming her charitable ambitions didn't mesh with royal protocol. Whether accurate or not, the stories added fuel to the fire and turned Meghan into both a symbol of progress and a lightning rod for criticism. As the interviews and media appearances kept coming, communication between Harry and his father became increasingly rare, and when it did happen, it was often cold and brief. Behind the scenes, insiders reported that King Charles was hurt and angry, especially as private family matters were aired for the world to dissect. There were whispers that phone calls went unanswered.
I think there's a sort of sense of both disappointment and exasperation at the palace, that the couple feel the need to keep going on about how miserable they were in their royal existence. At the same time, the couple...
Or were shut down quickly when conversations turned emotional or critical. Adding to the tension was the limited relationship between the royal family and Harry's children.
He has the sweetest temperament. He's really calm and...
Archie and Lilibet, born in 2019 and 2021 respectively, have spent very little time in the UK.
It's me calling in.
It's magic. It's pretty amazing, and I mean, I have the two best guys in the world, so I'm really happy.
Their rare visits were often shadowed by disagreements over security arrangements and strained schedules. Some insiders said King Charles longed to see his grandchildren, but didn't know how to make that happen without opening the palace to more controversy. Others believed the king had grown wary, especially of Meghan, whose brand building outside the royal fold raised fresh concerns.
And did huge damage to Harry's relationship with his father and with William. Harry also accused his father of cutting him off financially. We now know several things that were said in that interview were not true.
From podcast ventures to rumored lifestyle projects, Meghan's name remained in headlines, and with each appearance came new speculation about what she might reveal next. To the king, this unpredictability was dangerous. He had already made one dramatic choice, barring Meghan from joining the royal family at Balmoral in September 2022 as Queen Elizabeth lay on her deathbed. That moment wasn't just symbolic, it was a warning. Now, with each passing month and every new controversy, it was clear to those close to the situation that Charles's patience had a limit. As health concerns quietly loomed and his reign entered a delicate phase, the king began to draw firmer lines. The whispers inside palace walls grew louder. The late queen had upheld unity at all costs. But Charles? He was now preparing to do what she never did. A move so decisive, so permanent, it would signal there was no turning back, for Meghan Markle, and possibly for Harry too. The enduring legacy. As the noise fades and the headlines slow, this story no longer feels like a crisis. Instead, it reveals itself as a defining moment, one that quietly but firmly reshapes what independence really means. What once looked like an emotional family drama has hardened into something clearer and more deliberate, a shift from reliance to responsibility, from protection to self-management. At the heart of it all stands the palace, unmoved and unyielding. There are no private briefings, no subtle compromises, no back-channel rescues. The message is steady and unmistakable. The institution comes before personal bonds. King Charles and Prince William draw a clear line. Love, concern, and family feeling may still exist behind closed doors, but the Crown will not absorb risks created outside its system. The monarchy, in this moment, chooses structure over sentiment. To some observers, this feels harsh, even cruel. Critics describe it as emotional distance dressed up as duty. They argue that family should bend when one of its own struggles. Yet others see something very different. A modern monarchy learning to survive by setting limits. To them, this is not coldness, but clarity. An institution that has lasted centuries, they argue, can no longer afford blurred lines between public role and private choice. For Prince Harry and Meghan, the reality is settling in quietly. There are no fiery speeches or dramatic showdowns. Instead, there is adjustment. Schedules are reduced. Security is reassessed and questioned. Public appearances are carefully chosen not to provoke, but to show understanding of the new terrain. These moves do not signal surrender, they signal awareness. The door has closed, and instead of pounding on it, they are learning how to stand on their own side of it. The much-discussed figure, the reported $100 million, hovers in the background, but it no longer dominates the story. It serves as context, not salvation. It marks a shift, the end of waiting for help, the end of expecting a safety net. Whatever resources exist now belong fully to them, along with the risks and responsibilities that come with them. Harry's public image also changes in this phase. The story moves away from sympathy and towards scrutiny. When freedom was first claimed, it carried the glow of courage and escape. Now, freedom looks more demanding. It asks questions. It removes excuses. Independence sharpens accountability, leaving little room for confusion about who is responsible for what. Choices are no longer reactions, they are ownership. Meghan, meanwhile, appears focused on endurance rather than instant victories. The emphasis shifts from dramatic impact to steady presence. Without the constant comparison to royal life, her path becomes more self-defined. Success, if it comes, will not be borrowed from an institution, but built step by step, outside its shadow. Beyond the couple themselves, a larger question hangs in the air. What does this moment mean for the future of the monarchy? Will it discourage others from stepping away, knowing the cost is real and non-negotiable? Or will it deepen internal divides, revealing cracks that were already there? The answers are not immediate. Time, perception, and public patience now play key roles, forces that demand careful handling, not emotional reaction. This passage frames the situation as neither a dramatic failure nor a victorious comeback, but a quiet narrowing of choices and a reset of expectations. Family bonds still exist, yet they are now ruled by principles and rules rather than emotion alone. Independence is stripped of romance and revealed as demanding, practical, and costly, something that must be sustained daily without excuses. As a new phase begins, the central question is whether Harry will succeed in this quieter, more isolated space, or whether the lasting effects of separation will outweigh public narratives. Ultimately, it highlights a universal truth. Freedom always carries a price, even for princes. So, what do you think about Harry's debts? Do you think Charles and William are right to abandon him? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.